Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Black Chucks and Convos with me, Crystal, the Inclusion Lady. And I thank you for visiting, liking, subscribing, and sharing my YouTube channel. I am a DEI and inclusion marketing strategist and consultant where I help companies foster environments where employees feel like they belong and can thrive. DEI, if you don't know, is diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it focuses on balancing and expanding unique cultural perspectives in a society where we're historically conditioned to see through a narrow lens. I also share an extensive background in the beauty world, inside and out, self-leadership, life coaching, and I have a passion for empowering people to follow their dreams. This is why I've created Black Checks and Convos, which is a space where I can have honest, educational, and deep conversations with people who are willing to share their stories. And these stories will be under the realm of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which may include race, sexual orientation, ageism, ableism, self-leadership, goal achievement, entrepreneurship, and again, also beauty from the inside out. My guests are here to share their stories, their points of views, tips to empower you, and they will show you where you can continue to follow them. So let's get started with my first guest. My first guest is Derrick Harper, MBA. He's an owner and CEO of Transformative Media, LLC, and the creator of 5P podcast system. And over the last decades, he's worked in the audio video production industry. He's worked with Master Control with 10 ABC, CBS, and NBC affiliate stations across the country, and taught audio and film production in high school and middle school. He currently serves on the media team for the world-renowned motivational speaker whom we all love, Eric Thomas, and teaches podcast workshops for members at Pastor Darius Daniels Church, Change Church in Atlanta, and has become a full-time entrepreneur and built his six-figure business in his first 12 months. I would love for everyone to welcome Mr. Derrick Harper. Okay, cue the applause that I don't have.
How's it going?
Okay. Well, first of all, welcome. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I know Derrick from high school, Bethel High School,
Yes,
Hampton,
sir.
Virginia, 757. And I'm just really pleased to just see someone you know from high school be able to develop into like this adult who's doing something with them with their lives. And I'm really proud of what you're doing and I admire what you do. Just reading your bio, it's just like I can't wait to dive in to see like how did you even get to this place? You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
um I think that'll probably be my first question. So since we've left high school, what was kind of your journey to at least get to this place where you are?
Oh, since leaving high school, okay, you're gonna want me to talk for an hour here.
Yeah, look, give me the sound bites, but I haven't seen you like really in real life since.
Okay, so okay. I'm gonna try to make it. I'm trying to keep it tight for us here. Okay, so when I left high school, I started. I went to college. I did the whole college thing. Left college, and I actually started my first business when after I left college. I actually did a video production company, and I came to Atlanta for about 3 months, and it didn't work out. So I went back home, and I started working uh, in video production. I started working with the ABC, NBC, CBS affiliates from a hub in Norfolk, Virginia. I'm at WTKR, WTKR Channel 3. So
Yes.
we had a hub there. So I was doing master control for all these people. And then I end up leaving there and going and working in a school system. And then I was working in a school system, and that brought, in my love for teaching. So then I worked my way up to start teaching audio video production in high school and in middle school. And then it was in middle school where I realized that I wasn't cut out to teach.
What?
After 5 years of teaching, I realized in middle school that I was not cut out for teaching. After well, it was about 6 years. Year six, I was like, I'm done because middle school was a different beast than high school, right? And so I actually quit my job on a whim. My wife quit before me, and then I quit, and it was like, okay, what are we gonna do? And like I had my business, and so I had a business, so I went ahead and just said, I'm gonna go full time with this thing. I'm gonna dive in, and I did it. And in my first year, I made $101,347. I'll never forget that number because that was the number that I saw after my first 12 months. I didn't even know I had made that much. And I look back, I was like, oh, I did it. And I had almost doubled my teaching salary. I was like, I'll never go back. I'm never going back to work for anybody,
Wow.
right? Because especially when I was able to take my own knowledge, my own hands, and go about my business, right? Even the Bible says that, you know, use your mind your own business and do your work to do your business, right? And so I did that, and I said I'll never go back. So that's how I kind of got to that's how I kind of got to here. That's like the short version of how I got to
Wow.
here.
And I have questions in between, because it's
Okay.
such a beautiful story and it's a dynamic one. So your college, what did you go to school for?
Initially, I went to school because I was playing football, so I took what I call the athlete route, the individual studies. I got my associate's degree in individual studies because I went to a junior college. I was trying to go to get recruited to play football at a bigger school, and I actually did get noticed by Michigan State. And so I was working all that stuff out, and it didn't end up working out. So I ended up at Saginaw Valley, where I actually played football with the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, Matthew LaFleur, right? I end up I end up doing that. TJ was there too.
Oh,
uh, yeah, so we were roommates.
okay.
So 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 I was there, and I took up business when I was there. And then after a year I left there and finished my degree at Norfolk State with mass communications.
Okay, so what made you switch from business to mass communications?
Well, you know what? I always when I went to my first college was at Alfred State. I was doing the radio show there, and I always loved media. My thing was I wanted to be a anchor for a TV station, right? I wanted to be an anchor or a reporter. And so when I went to Norfolk State, I was doing business because I said, this is the thing that's probably going to get me the most money, really. I was chasing the money and not really chasing my heart. And so I actually went to Norfolk State, and I was sitting in the meeting for the business department for new people coming in. So I was just sitting there, and I was going through the book, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. And I was like looking at my courses, and I was like, I gotta do 3 more years here. I was like, this is gonna be terrible. And then I looked through the book, and I saw they had mass communication and they had general broadcast. And so it's all dealing with TV and uh, editing, video production, audio production stuff. I was like, that's what I want to do. And I was like, if I'm going to be here 3 years, I want to do something that I actually want to do. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I said, I got up from that meeting right then and there while we're supposed to be there, asking to roll around, signing names. I got up from that meeting and went directly to my advisor, and I said, listen, I'm going to change my my major right now. And I changed my major.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna roll it back a little bit. Just unpeel.
Go
Okay. Now,
ahead.
you said that you knew that you wanted to be somewhere in the media, either an anchor or something with TV, and you've done the radio thing. How far back in your past did you come to that decision? And I'm saying that because I think that there are some kids out here who don't know their path. They don't know what to do. There's even some people who leave high school and they're still floating to kind of figure out like, what do I do? Or there's parents that's pushing them in a certain direction, or there's parents who don't nurture their children to see what their talents are. So like, how did you know, like, what was your earliest memory of you knowing that something in media, that was your love?
Well, I think, well, you know what? I just reflected on that before I started doing what I'm doing currently. And
Okay.
I thought back because the thing about it is that you need to find out what it is that you truly love, your first love, and that first love is usually connected to your purpose in life. And so and
Mm.
so I was reading the book and it was saying, and the book was saying, usually and the book was called Your Purpose in Life. Your Purpose is Calling by Dr. Darius Daniels, right? And so I was reading a book, and in that book it was talking about unique discontent and what's the thing that bothers you the most. And I was like, I really couldn't find out really what bothered me the most, but I was like, think back to that thing that you do so well, that you do better than everybody else, and it takes you no type of effort at all. And everybody's like, this is so great, you're so great at this. And I'm like, and to me, it's like, it's nothing because I know how to do this. So I thought back to my earliest memories of what I really loved. And what I really loved was putting together audio. And I remember me hooking up stereos and just going back to my mom and my dad's stereo in their living room and saying, oh, this goes here, plug it in. Okay, if I do this, then the sound's going to come in. If I do this, then the sound's going to come out. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And so then I started recording music and making beats with one radio on one side, another radio on the other side. And you remember the tapes? We had to pop the tapes
Yeah,
in,
the
right? Pop the
cassettes.
tapes in, tapes in, push record. You had the double decker, right? So we had the double deck. And so I
Uh,
had to put play on one deck and record on another deck, and then also like hit play on the other radio and record. So then I could play live. So I'm like making beats because I'm playing one, playing the other one, and then hitting something like to make beats and then recording on another. So I'm like creative, like, and I've learned how to hook up audio stuff. And then with the video games came in, and I started hooking up video things. And I was like, oh, this yellow cord means video. Okay, so this can go here. And then I could close my eyes and really envision if I wanted to have this video show on this computer, and then this video show on this TV, and then I can play and record. How would I set that up? And I could just look in my head and just think, and I could say, okay, this. So it was that my very very earliest memories of that. And I was like, this is what I love. This is what, if I could do this, I would love to do this. And I was like, that was my first love. That was my first thing, my first earliest memory of where I actually had the talent and no one taught it. It was unexplainable. No one taught it to me. I just went in there and said, oh, start plugging stuff in.
wow. Okay, that's beautiful. And I love how you mentioned reading this book
Mhm.
to help you reflect on like your earliest memories of what are the things that were effortless for you. So it was also the same for me, um, where I had went to college for fashion, because I knew that I loved fashion. It was easy for me. But it wasn't until I read this book, and it was called, I believe, The Mastermind. Oh man, I forgot already. Damn it. I think it's like The Mastermind something. I'll get the book later and I'll put it on the overlay. But the book had me reflect on everything that was easy for me. It had me reflect on what are the things that people compliment you best on. Like they're just like, you're good at this. And how many times you've heard that. What do you want in life? Or what don't you want? And like you stated, like to be able to reflect on your passions, whether it's an anger about something that you hate, or it's a passion about something that you love. And through me doing this analysis, I was able to narrow down the certain things that I was really great at and what I wanted to do. And I used that and I quit my job and I skated straight to New York. I was like, look, fashion is what it is. I want to make the most money at it. So I bounced, went to New York and did the fashion styling thing and yada, yada, yada. The rest is history. So I do think it's really important, that nugget there, is to be able to do some type of self-analysis. Also reading, because that's becoming a lost art. but we need to emphasize that. Were you always a reader, like in school, or no?
No. I,
I mean, hey.
listen, I hated reading. I hated reading because I felt like it was a waste of my time. I felt
Okay.
like sitting down with a book, open it up, and listen. My goal one time, my goal was like, I'm going to read a book from front to end, a big novel, right? That
Yes.
was the goal, just to read one, right? So I can say I did it, right? I hated reading, absolutely hate it. But here's the thing, and this is what I encourage other people to do, is find out your learning style,
Mm,
because when you find out your learning style, you can do things that you normally wouldn't do a lot easier. So for me, or let's just keep it in the realm of reading, right? So you can read in an easier way. So for me, I found out that I was an auditory learner. And the reason why I found that out was my wife kept telling me, yo, you need to read, you need to read. I hate reading. So she picked up this book, and it's called Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic. Pretty much everybody reads this, right? Business owners. That's like the first book you want to start with, right? So I was reading Think and Grow Rich. I started to read it. It's like, I can't do this. And so I went on Apple Books, and there was a audio version of it. So I was like, okay, let me get the audio version. I can listen to it while I work, right? So popped my headphones on, doing my business. My first business was a pressure washing business, right? So I'm pressure washing while I'm listening, and I found when I get home, I asked my wife. I said, well, "How far did you get in the book?" And she's like, "Well, I'm on chapter 4." I was like, "Well, I'm on chapter 7." And she was like, "Well, I like the part where it was talking about that." I thought, "Oh yeah, that's in chapter 3, and that's probably about halfway through." Oh yeah, it actually said this, and I started realizing, I was like, "Man, like I really remember, I really retained that just by listening." So that's what I realized. Hey, if I just listen to these books, I can listen to books because I'm working outdoors 5, 6 hours a day. I could just pop my headphones on while I'm working and listen to these books. And I got so good at it that I knew exactly what I was doing when certain parts of the book would come up. Even if I was out running and I was listening, I can remember exactly where I was when somebody said something. So that connection in my mind helps me remember the things that were said. And so if you are an auditory listener, get audiobooks, because audiobooks are like a lifesaver, time saver, right? And so I found what worked for me, and that's what made me a reader. And since then, I probably spent $1,000 on books, and I've been reading them and reading, and if anything that comes up and that I need to find out about, or if I have a problem in my business and I need to figure out the answer, I go get a book about it, right? I don't have no problem investing in a book or anything to get where I get the information that I need, because it's valuable.
there it is. Okay, there it is. All right, which makes sense because like that's why you do what you do in terms of media, right? The audio, the visual, that's also your type of learning. So that was really clever for you to connect the two. All right, so we're gonna fast forward just a little bit. I know that you stated after college, you actually created your own business, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but it wasn't in the audio video, was it?
Yeah. When I first left college,
Okay.
I started an audio video production company with
Okay.
a couple of guys.
So let's talk about that. Because I think that is like me as a business owner today in my 40s, I can't even imagine being young in my 20s or teens just starting a business. So like what gave you the gumption that you could actually do it?
Oh, well, I had a group of guys around me, and the group of guys that I had around me weren't the best influences as far as life was concerned.
Okay.
And the whole ordeal was not very favorable, but there's always two sides to everything.
Okay.
You've never seen, have you ever seen a one-sided piece of bread or a one-sided piece of paper, right? There's always two sides to things. There's always a positive and a negative. And so what we do as humans, and what's so interesting about humans, is that we always go to the negative aspect of the fact that's going on. We always put a frame around the negative, and we never put a frame around the positive. I think if we put more frames around the positive things in life, then we would get a lot further, a lot quicker, right? So, and I started with the negative, so bad me. But the positive part of it is this: they were the people that instilled the work ethic and the drive in me to help start it, because I wouldn't have started it by myself.
Okay.
They were the people that said, "Hey, man, we can do this. Let's go out here and do this." Now, things weren't done correctly, but the I did learn the drive and the competitiveness and all of the things out of that situation. And so that's what got me to actually be able to start the business and say, hey, no, we can do this. Yeah, we can do this.
Mm. So do you remember your first client? What did you do?
Uh, our first client, we were one of the guys that was working with us. He was really close friends with the manager of the Clips at the time. And
Okay.
we actually got a video for it was another artist, and her parents had a little bit of money, so they actually paid one of the artists, the Clips. Uh, he goes by No Malice now, but it was Malice at the time.
Come on.
Um,
Malice?
yeah, so she paid him to be in the video, and then we actually shot the video. So that was like our first one.
That's
Yeah,
huge. How did you even do that? Like, was it through connections? Like, just putting
yeah,
yourself out there? Like,
yeah. So what happened was one of the guys that I was working with, like I said, he was close with with the Clips manager,
okay.
and he actually grew up with all of them actually. With him, the Clips, Pharrell, all of those people. So so the girl that came in, she wanted to shoot the video. She wanted to put Malice in the video, and so he just said, "Yo, so and so want to pay Malice to get in the video." He said, "Okay." They paid the money, and then that's how it happened.
Okay. Well, there. Wow. This to me, that speaks destiny. Like, this is your realm. Even for that to be your first client, it's like pretty dope in itself. Okay, so boom, that I take it, it did not, like, how long did that last? Did it fail? And quote unquote, because I don't know if I believe in failure, but like, what was the run of that business and what happened?
Well, when you're dealing with people who are not, savvy when it comes to business, and nobody knew what we were doing. We were just out there just doing it, right? People got egos, and then somebody went this way, and they were like, "Oh, you left," and then we left, and me and one of the guys left and went this way, and we tried to do it on our own over this side, and we didn't come together as a collective unit, and there was no harmony within the mastermind. If you read Think and Grow Rich, you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Or you had to build a mastermind. That was our mastermind, but there was no harmony. You can't have a good business or a good mastermind if you don't have that harmony in there. So it wasn't harmony. It was everybody was out for self. Everybody wanted to be rich, and we nobody really wanted to share. And so
Mm.
that's what broke us up. And so we did that. And after I left that big group, me and a subgroup of that group, me and another guy, we actually went on for another like 6 or 7 years, just doing different video products, creating a DVD magazine that was really popular at the time. We did just other videos. We did just creating videos for our magazine where we interviewed like Pharrell, and we interviewed Little Scrappy. We've interviewed a lot of people, and we had them on our DVD, just collecting those interviews and just going to events and things like that. So
Okay.
yeah, we ran for about 6 or 7 years after that.
Okay. Okay. So we came a long way from cassettes, then we went into DVDs.
Yeah.
And then I do have a question before we move on from there. Did you fund yourself? Because like video equipment is pretty expensive. So like, how did you even get the startup dough?
Well, and this is going to help us rewind just a little bit more. But when I met the guy that I was working with, he was working with another guy who was who owned a really big business um, in Virginia, the Step in Time chimney sweeps in Virginia, and his name, well, he had the business, and so he helped fund us. He got us an office, he got us equipment and everything. And then when we separated, when he said, no, hey, this is not working, when we separated, we were able to purchase some the cameras off of him with another sponsor that helped us buy everything. And so we did another TV show and stuff. So
Okay. Okay. All right. That makes sense. So you had some like an investor,
yeah.
and then you kind of mitigated that. Okay. So boom. Now I know there was a part, and when you mentioned that you ended up um like teaching in schools. So like what kind of prompted you to do that?
Well, to teach in schools was because I I coached. I started coaching in the midst of all of this. I know I've done a lot, but I started coaching track and field and football in the midst of doing all of that. And I started going to the practices, and it's like, the best part of my day is when I actually get to here with these kids and start working with them, and they were fun. And so I was like, if I could be in the school system and teach, then I could be out here more with these kids. And
Mm,
so I thought, hey, let me make a career change. Let me start going to teach. And I ended up being a teacher's aide first.
okay.
Uh, and then I worked throughout 3 years as a teacher's aide. And I wanted to start a video production program in Virginia because they don't have that. And till this day, they don't have it.
What?
Only in Newport News they had it, right? So they had it in Newport News, but it wasn't in the schools. It was a part of a different as part of their school's TV station, right? And so
Hmm.
I was like, I want to start that. And then I looked in the teacher job descriptions and all of the jobs in Georgia, and I saw that they had that here. And so I was like, let me go down there and start teaching down there. And I
Mm.
realized I didn't have to have any type of teacher certification for it. All I needed was my years of experience because that's what they call it. They give you a industry certification. And because I had been in the industry long enough, I was like, I could go teach. Like, so I went down and started teaching and coaching in Georgia. So that's how I got to actually teaching. And then like, hey, I mix my passion of video production with one of my spiritual gifts, which is teaching and exhortation. And so I could mix those two. And then I also get to do something that I'm really passionate about, coaching and running track. So it was a perfect fit for me. And so I was like, this is the way to go. All right. So
Until
that's
it
why I
wasn't.
said again.
Until it wasn't.
Yeah, until it wasn't. Until I got to middle school and they straightened me up real quick.
Ooh, what happened there?
Oh, middle school, man, is you have to be a certain type of person to deal with that age group because that age group is coming into they're figuring out, hey, I have a say, or these the teachers really can't do anything to me. They used to threaten me. I used to be so scared when the teacher said, "I'm going to call your parents." Now I don't care if you call my parents because whatever. And so now they start understanding. Oh, I can talk back now, you know. And then the crazy part is that most people think that high school is bad. High school is a cakewalk. Middle school is where you start having a problem with the disrespecting and the throwing stuff and kids running all over the place. And I was like, my stress level is too high,
Yeah, no.
and this is not for me. And
Yeah.
I and that revelation came to me, and it wasn't a selfish revelation. I don't think at the time because I was saying to myself, it's not fair to the kids or to the person who wants to be in my position
Hmm.
for me to come here and not give 100% effort here because I
Okay.
wasn't giving 100% effort. And I said it when I come to school and I'm looking at the clock, can't wait till 4 o'clock. That's when I know it's time to go. Right? I didn't enjoy it. It's like there were times in class I would sit up and the kids were talking. I would say, stop talking, stop talking. I had to keep repeating myself and I stopped. I had stopped. And I literally said in class one day, I said, this is not fun anymore.
Yeah.
And I said, that was it. It's time to go.
Oh, yeah, that's a good sign. And when you quit, did you already have something lined up, or was there like a little period in between where you had to figure it all out?
Um, well, when I quit, I had already was doing my pressure washing business on the side.
Okay.
Put it on the weekends. When I had summers off, I would do it all summer. And so I already had that lined up. And but I hadn't made more than $11,000. No, well, one year I made like $25,000 off of it, just
Mhm.
doing it on the side. And you would think, that's pretty good money. If you make 50, $60,000 a year, an extra 25,000, great, right? Until you got to take out expenses of all the things that it costs to do it. And so it was a stretch. It was a stretch to think about. I have never made more than $25,000. My wife wasn't working. If I quit, I really got to figure something out because we're not going to be able to live with three kids for $25,000 a year, right? And so uh, I had a revelation because I was listening to Dr. Eric Thomas,
Okay.
and I had talked to my wife the probably about 2 weeks leading up to me quitting. I had talked to my wife and she was like, what you need to do is you need to write a resignation letter. Don't turn it in, but write a resignation letter and put somewhere your quit date and say you're going to go full time with your business. I said, okay, cool. So I did that, kept it. And it was one particular week. I was listening to Eric Thomas every morning. One particular week, it was a Wednesday. I had already set up work on Saturday because I usually on the weekend I work Saturdays and sometimes I would work Sundays, but not too much Saturdays. And I said if I get more than I can handle on Saturday, then I'll start moving it back to Friday, and then I'll start moving it back to Thursday, right?
Mhm.
And so one week I had set up Saturday, and then I had set up Friday, and then I was like, I got another call, so I was like, I'm gonna set up Thursday. So I set up Thursday. So I was gonna take Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I mean Thursday and Friday off. So
Okay.
I was listening to Eric Thomas driving to work one day. It was a Wednesday, and I got this feeling all over me. And it was like, you have to go home and take care of your business. That was the feeling I got. And I was like, nah, I ignored it. I got to school, got stronger. And by the time lunch came, I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, I'm going to leave. So I said I was taking Thursday and Friday off anyway. I looked at my time. I got enough time. I got enough PTO for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I
Okay.
took that PTO. I took that PTO off. And I went home and I was talking to my wife that Wednesday night, and I said, I feel like I can do this business and I can do it full time. I said, but I feel like I got one foot in and I got one foot out of this
Mhm.
thing. And so the next morning on Thursday, I was driving in the truck going to do the business. And of course, I pop on Eric Thomas in the morning, YouTube videos, but I play it through my radio so I can hear it. So I'm driving and I'm listening. And Eric Thomas was talking about that. He's like, well, when I was reading, I figured out where I was dumb at. It wasn't that I was dumb in reading. I was dumb in writing. So we pinpointed the dumb. So that's his word. So he was like, so now we got to pinpoint why are you still working your job? Why are you still working? You shouldn't be working that job. And I was like, huh, is he talking to me? And then all of a sudden he says, the reason why you won't quit your job and go do your business is because you're afraid you won't do well. And the reason why you won't do well is because you got one foot in and you got one foot out. And that's why I said, oh, hell, he is talking to me.
Right.
So I went and I did my business. Right. So I went home and I told my wife, I was like, yo, this is what Eric Thomas said, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? Right? What do you think I should do? I kept asking it. I called my sister. I was like, what do you think I should do? Call my sister, talk to my sister. What do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? I kept asking my wife that question that night. So the next Friday morning, I woke up, got on the truck, start going to my business again, right? And popped on Eric Thomas again. Video came on, and he was like, you should quit that job. You know you should quit that job, but you're too scared. And then he was like, stop asking your wife what you should do. Stop asking your parents what you should do. And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, yo, this has got to be like this has to be the confirmation that I had been praying for. Like, this is it. So I went home and I looked at it and I was like, let me look at what I had made between Thursday and Friday and Saturday. It was $2,500. And I looked at my salary and I said, I make $900 a week. I just made $2,500 in 3 days. If I put enough energy into this, then what as the same amount of energy I put into this as I put into working, I could do this every week. And
Mm,
that's what I did. And every week, uh, on average, we were doing on average, we're doing about $25 to $3,000 a week with
woo.
that business. And so I'm like, that's what so that Monday, that Monday I went in and I I'm telling you the most liberating time. Now, I thought I was going to do the whole like won the lottery, go in, kick desk over, tell you I don't like you, I don't like you, I don't like you. Like, I'm not gonna do all that. But no, I won't that. I went in, I had a panic period in the beginning. So I went in that day, I packed all my stuff, I put my stuff in the car, I went to my principal and I said, I'm not doing this no more. I told her, I've got to take care, I have to take my life back
Yes.
because I'm here and I'm missing out on my son growing up. I'm missing out on my daughter growing up. I'm missing out on being able to eat when I want to because you're telling me when I got to eat.
Yeah.
You're telling me when I have to be here. You're telling me when I can go to the bathroom. It's like, am I at work or am I at jail?
Ooh,
Like the only difference is I have to come home. I get to come home every
right.
night, but I got to get back up. You're telling me where, when, and where I have to be. I'm like, I have to take my life back. I have to get
Mm.
out of this mental cage, break through the mental cage, and that, it was fear there, but everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Ooh, you better.
And so I went in, I quit, I quit, I went in, I quit, I put my stuff in, and I went home. That day is, I literally felt so free. That was the most
Mm.
free I've ever felt in my entire life. I'm free. I'm free.
Ooh.
And this has that feeling must have been what the slaves have felt once they realized they were set free from slavery. They're like, I'm free. Now, unfortunately, some of them had to stay because they didn't have a place to go. But that feeling of freedom, like we've been doing this, we don't have to do it no more. Oh, I can live my life, you know?
No, imagine the ones who found out 2 years later in Texas.
Yes. I've been free all this time.
The whole damn time, right? But I digress. Wow, I can understand that liberating feeling. And I understand that fear factor very well when it comes to quitting the job, right? Because like the job is everything that a lot of us know. And I would say, and especially in my family, where it's just, you go to school, you go to college, and if you don't go to college, you get that job and then you stay on that job and then you retire and then yada, yada, yada. And I have never really been that type of girl. Like, I've just, like, if I don't like the job, I'm not going to stay there. Like, I don't,
Right.
but there's fear there. And I even say for myself recently, like as I created my own business as a consultant here, because DEI has been under attack politically. And I got a little side job. I'm like, all right, well, as I'm building this business, because I'm freaking terrified, like to even put myself out there, that 1 foot, one in, like 1 foot out, 1 foot in, I understand that completely. So I took a little side job or whatever, and I'm there, but I'm not there. I
Right. Yep.
hate it, and it's still not paying me enough. Like what I'm bringing home in 2 weeks, I was making in 2 days. So it was just like, ugh. So I quit the job, but I was afraid to tell anybody
Uh-huh.
because of the judgment that I knew I would hear from everyone else. It's like, why you quit that good job? Something's better than nothing, all of that. You got bills. So there's such a
Right.
fear factor there of quitting, but my insides, I couldn't take it. But then I'm also afraid to walk into my own business. I'm afraid of the rejection. I'm afraid of a lot of things. So for
Right.
you to make that move is, whew, it's
That's that
it's
mental thing that stops us. That's that mental cage. That's us. And it's normal. So don't feel bad. It's normal because we put, like I said before, what we do, the movie that we play in our head is that of this is going to happen, or we're afraid of rejection. Let me tell you, that's going to happen. You're going to get people that's going to say that, right? They're going to, like, I never thought when they told me that, I didn't think it was going to be true until I had family members telling me, hey, you need to go punch a clock. And I'm like, do you understand that I'm trying to build my dreams, the life, design the way my life I want, I'm sorry, I love you, but you can't tell me what to do because you haven't done it. Right.
mm,
And so there's two things that kills people's dreams, right? If you got a dream to get to $1 million, there's two things that's going to kill your dreams. One is fear. The second is making $500,000. And the reason why I say making $500,000 because most people that have that dream of making $1 million and being rich, you get to $500,000, you realize, hey, I'm good. Like I'm good. I don't need no more than this.
mm,
And then you're like, stop, dream done. I'm good. Right. And they never push for more. But the first thing is that fear of breaking through that fear barrier, because once you break through that fear barrier, everything that you want is on the other side of that. Now you're gonna go through some trials and tribulations, and you're gonna go through some what's perceived as failure, because it's never failure until you actually stop.
mm,
If you stop doing what you're doing, if you continue to push through and you have persistent, you're going to go through some failures, but failure is actually progress. Failure
oh,
failure is actually progress because it's in the failure that trains you to train you to stay where you are when you get there,
mm, mm,
right? So if you haven't gone through these trials and tribulations and all that failure, then you would never be strong enough to get to the next point, right? So all that stuff is teaching. That's failure is part of it. Failure is part of the process.
mm. Yeah, that's what they say.
I'm living proof of it because I'm like, I got to a point where I was like, this is not going to happen for me.
Mm,
Let me find a job application somewhere, and I'm like, a couple of steps from doing it. Even after having that success, and then switching businesses, and then going back down, like used to have 5-figure months, back down to 4-figure months,
mm.
3-figure months. Like
Oh,
it happens. And so, like, on my way back up, because I know how to do it, and like, man, I need to find another application, find an application. But the thing that kept me in it was studying, being in my Bible, studying my word, praying,
mm,
also listening to my spiritual advisors and reading all of the books when they're saying, hey, this is part of the process. If you're Disruption follows intention. So every time you have an intention to do something, disruption is going to follow. It's just like when you're going to lift weights for the first time, or you're going to work out for the first time. Your intention is to get better and feel better, right? But the
yeah,
first thing that shows up is
pain.
sore muscles,
Yeah.
pain, right? All that stuff shows up first. And so you have to work through that. On the other side of that is you feel stronger, you feel healthier, you feel better. And it's also like taking a jump. When you take a jump, the first thing you do, you squat and you get ready for takeoff. Everything has to go down. And then once you take off, the next thing you look for is where you're going to land. You don't look at all of the obstacles that's under you. You're looking at where I'm going to land, because I got to land there, because if I don't, I'm going to fall into this wherever I'm jumping over.
Yeah.
Right. And so what's interesting about us as humans, the things that stop us from moving to where we're trying to go is ourselves. It's not any outside forces. We always put the excuses. They're going to say this, or I don't have enough this. And they don't have, that's that's your own thoughts, your own limiting beliefs is going to stop you from getting to where you're trying to go. It's not any other outside forces. Everything is fixed internally.
Mm, mm. Yeah, you came through with the word. You came through with the word. Okay. All right. Okay. Noted. Okay. So I hear you mention a few times about being in the word as well as I mentioned word. Um, and your spiritual advisors and being in the Bible and purpose. Like, so how important is that walk while you're walking on earth?
It's man, it is the probably the most important thing. It is the most important thing because not the it's not where you're going to end up when it like if you're dealing with business, it's not the making of the money and buying the cars and the houses. That's the thing because there's people that makes millions of dollars and then they're more depressed than they were when they were broke.
Mm,
The reason why that is because they didn't become in the process. So
mm,
more so than it is making the money, it's the journey, it's the change, the person that you have to become is the most important thing. Like
ooh,
before you're able to make that money, before you're able to do all those things, you have to become a different person, right? The Bible says in the beginning, the first instructions that man was given was to be, do, and have, be fruitful, do, multiply, and have dominion. That
mm,
was the first thing to do. So the first thing we got to do is be. A lot of us try to have without doing the be first.
mm-hmm,
Right? A lot of us try to do without becoming first,
mm,
right? Mastery, we have to when we do these things, we have to master these things. And mastery doesn't come because you read a book and you figured some stuff out. Mastery comes in the doing,
mm,
right? The and I love what Myron Golden's definition of mastery is. And you won't find this in the Webster's dictionary, but his definition of mastery is executing effortlessly without the use of conscious resources. So so that means you're able to execute on these things without having to think about it, without having to go to a book and read. Till
mm-hmm,
you can do it to the point where it's second nature. That's when you know you mastered it.
mm.
So that spiritual walk is more than important than anything. Is the person that you have to become in order to get to where you're trying to go.
And then who is that?
Who is what? Who's
Becoming who? Becoming what?
oh becoming who uh the person that you need to be for the thing that you're trying to do to work for you. So if you're trying to be a business owner, you have to become a business owner. You have to become you have to become business. Like I've become business. Like when I wake up in the morning, that's what I think about. When I go to sleep, that's what I think about. I dream about it. When I wake up, I'm like, how can I get in front of more people? That's the thing I'm thinking about. And it's not and it's not a selfish thing because most people are looking at it like, oh, I need to make more money. Like, no, your business is not for you. Your gifts are not for you. Your gifts is for the people. Because if you think about business is nothing more than solving other people's problems. So you
Right.
can't before you can solve your problem of being broke or not having enough,
Yeah.
you got to learn how to solve other people's problems first. So
Mm.
it's a love thing. So you got to love people. You got to love to help people first before you get to where you need to get to, or before you get the things that you need.
That's why I think it is important for us to know what we love and do what we love, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
like I can't see waking up every day and just being like, I'm ready to go because of this business. Like it has to be something that's connected to your purpose. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you're not motivated, how do you get up?
There were times when I wasn't motivated because things weren't looking the way it needed to look. But the reason why was because I didn't have the people as the first thing as the forefront of my thoughts.
Mm.
Instead of being thinking like, how can I get this money? I should have been thinking, how many people's problems can I solve today?
Woo-hoo.
Right? What else can I give them that can help them get to the level that they need to get to? Because
Mm,
once you do that, wealth follows wisdom.
mm,
Wealth follows wisdom. So what you know, if you can help somebody, you have that wisdom to help them, help them.
mm.
The best way to show somebody that you can help them is by actually helping them.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you do that, like once I start doing that, literally I would go on TikTok and Instagram, mainly on TikTok, and just start helping. And people came into my inbox and they were saying, yo, I need your help. How much does it cost? I didn't have to sell a thing.
Wow.
I didn't
Wow.
have to sell a thing. I just help. And they come in and say, hey, I need your help. How much does it cost?
Yes. Mm, that makes sense. Okay. So let's get into that, like in terms of like where you are now. I know that you're still in the media space.
Yep.
And you have been working with, like you stated, the renowned, Eric Thomas, who I also follow and love dearly. His authenticity is everything. And anyone who's empowering people, I am team them, okay? And I can see why you would be part of that team because you're also that type of person to me. Just very empowering, great spirit, positive energy, very focused. And the best part you've said is just being a service to people, right? Being able to solve problems. And I would say nowadays, where we're in this world of social media and everyone having their own phones to be able to record, and even myself having to have a YouTube channel, and I'm doing this thing on my own or whatever. Um, one of the things that you stated, because I asked you, well, why did you want to become a guest, on my show? And you're like, well, do you have a podcast? And I was just like, no, I don't think so. Do I? Because I know that I also see you, I see your post about, podcasting, and you have these tips, and I've listened to your podcast as well on Spotify, and you give like really great tips. So, I want to know, like, what do you think about today's society in terms of like podcasting? How important is it? Is the first question. And then like, how are you able to help people right now in this, because again, you moved from cassettes to DVDs. I'm sure you had CDs at some point. Now we're in the digital era, and you found yourself in this space. So I know I've said a lot, but I think that you're very pivotal to this point, and you prepared yourself to be where the masses are using this technology and all that good stuff. So again, how important is it for people to have podcasts? And like, what do you do to support people with that?
Well, it's important for you to have podcasts if you have something to say. So what I try to teach people to do is to create an informative, impactful, and influential podcast.
Mm,
Because because it doesn't matter if you have a business or if you just have a story, because your story is going to help someone who's going through the same thing that you went through. Maybe you've been through something and you got to the other side of it, and there's people who want to know the steps, right?
yes.
Like I'm working with a lady right now. She's 547 days sober,
Mm,
and her unique disposition was how everybody is teaching people how to get there. And she's like, the things that I learned how to get here, I didn't have to do those. I had to do something different. I had to
mm,
go deeper. And I was like, that's what you need to be telling people, because because your your message is tied to someone else's destiny.
say that again.
Your message is tied to someone else's destiny.
Ooh,
Your obedience to God is tied to someone else's destiny,
ooh,
because our purpose on life is to help other people.
yes.
And if you've been through something, it's very important that you talk about it, because there's other people that's going through the same thing. And those people wouldn't get what they need to get if you didn't put your stuff out. Now, you might say, well, there's other people that do it, right?
Mm,
There's thousands of people that do it,
right.
right? There are, but those people that are assigned to you are going to come to you, and they need you And they don't need Oprah. They need you. They don't need Eric Thomas. Why?
Mm,
Because they don't resonate with Eric Thomas, right? And they say, well, there's too many people. I ain't gonna do it. Well, listen, you go to church, right? Yeah. You listen to your pastor, right? Okay, yeah. Why do you listen to that pastor as opposed to listening to TD Jakes, who's reading from the same book, who's teaching the same things? Why do you listen to this pastor and like this pastor over TD Jakes or over Creflo Dollar or over Darius Daniels?
mhm,
Because you were there, you something that they've done or the way that they teach resonates with you, and that's the same thing that's going to happen for you. Whatever you say, the way your passion that you give off, you being your true authentic self is going to resonate with somebody, and they're going to with a lot of people, and they're going to follow you because they resonate with you. And so
mm,
that's why it's really important for you to get your word out there. Now, on the business end of it, it's even extremely important for you to put your stuff out there, even if you're selling something. The reason why is there's people out there that need your service
mm,
more than what you think. I used to think that just going out and pressure washing the house was just, oh, house is dirty, clean it, boom, nothing of it. But there there are people out here that find therapy in the things being clean. Now, when you come home, the house on the outside looks clean. You feel better about the house looking good. Now, when you come outside, you're outside in confidence. It
mm,
boosts your confidence.
yeah.
When things are clean, it boosts your confidence. You have clarity, right? It does more for people than just, oh, it's dirty, it needs to be clean, right? It does a lot more. Like if you're a housekeeper, or if you have a housekeeping service, you clean houses.
Mm,
The clarity that people have when they walk in the house and the house is clean, they don't have to think about that. If you're a chef and you're cooking dinner for people, like the thought, the mother that comes home that doesn't have to worry about cooking dinner because she has an in-home chef, right? The clarity that they have and don't have to worry about that affects a whole lot. It's a domino effect. If that one thing affects everything else,
mm,
and so you have to think of your business as a ministry. And once you start thinking of your business as a ministry, hey, I'm helping people. And a lot of people are like, I don't want to put out, you know, uh, marketing because it costs too much. Like, well, if you don't put out marketing and reach more people, then you're actually being selfish because they need you.
ooh,
So you need to put out your marketing so you can reach. The more marketing you put out there, the more money you spend on yourself to show more people. The more people you reach, the more people you can help. And I think that's the thing that people don't really look at their business as a ministry. Your business is a ministry. Once you start looking at your business as a ministry and think of it in terms of I'm helping people.
mm, ooh.
One of the things that stops people from making money is the fact that they're trying to make money. The reason why you're not making sales is because you're trying to make sales, right? Instead of helping people. That's the key.
Right. Woo,
That's the key.
Lord. You speaking of so many languages, and I love this. This is so good. It's perfect. So thank you for that. And going into like the question that I did have for you today, because you were like, this is the podcast, right? And I was like, no, I don't know, is it? So, like, what is a podcast? Because my idea of it is like, look, I don't have the microphone. Like, you got the little fancy schmancy microphone right there. You have such a clarity in your background. I'm over here on like a MacBook Pro, you know, and that's it. So, like, what makes a podcast a podcast?
And it's the it's not the podcast that makes the podcast. The God told me it's not about the podcast, it's about the message.
Mm,
It's the message is what is the most important thing.
okay.
So when I teach people the podcast, I teach them you don't need a mic like I have. You don't need all these special things. You have a podcast studio right now. So some of the people that's watching this right now, you're watching us on your podcast studio. The cell phone that you have in your hand, you can do it all from your cell phone.
Mm.
Talk about video, audio, everything. The thing that you're holding in your hand right now is the most powerful tool. It's the most powerful tool.
Ooh.
And my wife always gets on me. She's like, "You always want the latest phone." Yeah, because the camera gets upgraded and the speed gets upgraded. And it allows me to do things faster. It allows me to reach my people faster, to help people faster. See how
Yes.
that goes? So, so it's not the podcast that makes the podcast, it's the message, right?
Mm,
So you have this wonderful platform here on YouTube. All you need to do is post it on on the podcast platform, and boom,
mm.
there you go.
Wow. There was an episode that I listened to you, and I think you were talking about this very thing.
Uh-huh.
Think if I remember, my memory serves me right. I have a lot of short-term memory, but I think it was your wife
Mm.
who she used her phone. Like she was just like, I
Yeah,
don't know how to set up all this stuff. I want to get this message out there, but let me just use my phone and call it a day, right?
yeah.
Did I have that right?
Yeah, she came home because she had went to a professional development at school. She's a teacher too, and she went out to a professional development at school. And one of the media people from one of the other schools was talking about podcasting and was showing them the app. And so she came home and was like, "Oh, we can use this app to podcast. I want to start a podcast." I'm like, "All right, cool, let's do it." But me being a media person, I'm like, "All right, let's get the microphones and all the stuff and do it." But the app really just allows you to record right there on the app, right from your phone. And when you think about it, it's like that's really all it is, you know. So that's why I was telling you, it's not the podcast that makes the podcast; it's the message and the essence of your personality that you put out there.
Touche, touche, touche. So, are you still pressure washing, or are you still strictly in the media space with your business?
Oh yeah, we sold all the pressure washing stuff. We still got
Ah,
the truck. We still got the truck. I love the truck, but but we sold all the stuff. And when I'm right, I'm all uh into the business podcasting, coaching and consulting space.
okay. So, how do you help us? What do you do?
How do I help you?
Yeah, as your business, how are you helping us? Because there's a
Oh,
lot of us who want to do this.
I'm helping you get your message out there. I'm helping you get your ministry out there. I'm helping you get your business out there to more people who need it.
Yeah.
Right. And I empower people, like I empower people to put to follow their destiny, to put their messages out there. Even
Mm,
like I said, even if you have a business, your business is a ministry.
mm,
So you need to put your ministry out there to as many people as you can, right? To help them
yeah.
because most people they think they think that they are selling a product, and you're not really selling a product. You're really solving a problem.
Mm, right.
You're
Right.
solving people's problems.
Right. So, a person who's green at this, starting from ground zero,
Mhm.
can contact you and say, "Hey, I want to start a podcast." And you would coach them from point A to point B. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that can include, well, I would assume it starts with the message because that's what you've been saying. You would want to know what is the message that you want to get out there, getting clear on that, perhaps. Um,
Yep. Mhm.
yeah, would you tell me, because I'm guessing, so like what would someone need to have um when they come to you?
Okay. So as long as you have a cell phone, you're good to go on the equipment side.
Okay.
The first thing we would do is we would just sit down and we would map out who are you talking to?
Mm,
Who is it that you want to help? What is your passion? What can you do, the best? And you feel like you can contribute to society in a certain group or subgroup of people,
mhm,
right? And we got to get clear on who we're talking to. I mean, crystal clear on who we're talking to. Then we have to get crystal clear on how we're helping them.
mm,
I mean, extremely clear on how we're helping them. Because if we are not clear, they're not going to be clear. It's like when I tell them, I said, when you tell them what your podcast is about, they should say, "Oh, that's cool." They shouldn't say, "Oh, so it's kind of like," right? You shouldn't be saying it's kind of like. It needs to be crystal clear. And the funny thing about people is they try to be cute and try to use these long, great, these words and saying, actually what I help people do is I help people transform their lives and bring happiness into their world and all of these great things. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great, but what do you actually do? know, like we think we have to be, use like transformative and blah blah blah. Like you think I use these words, and really most people don't have over an eighth grade education. So we need to be simple. Like, what do you help people do? Like, I inspire people to, leave their job or get, or I inspire people to manifest their dreams, whatever,
Yeah,
right? It needs to be that simple. Like I help I help business owners make more sales. Right? It needs
yeah,
to be that simple.
yeah,
So we get crystal clear on that, making sure that they know exactly what they're going to do and they can say it in one sentence to people. And then when they put their description into their podcast, so people can raise their hand and say, "Oh, that's me."
I,
Right? You don't want people saying, "Oh, this sounds cool, but what is that really about?" Right? You know. Um, and so once we get clear on that and clear on how we're going to help the people and how what we're going to be saying, then we move into planning for the podcast, right? So we start planning, we start saying, okay, what kind of things can we do? What kind of messages can we put out there? All right. And we let the consumer tell us what they want to hear. Right. Again, most people would think, all right, I'm going to say this is going to be cool, or this is a good topic. This is a good topic. Well, how do you know it's a good topic? Who told you it was a good topic? The only people that are going to listen to it are the people that's going to listen to it. So we need to figure out what the people who are going to listen to it want to hear, right?
mm.
Business starts out there, not in here, right?
Ooh,
So that's why I say everything. Once you start thinking, how is this going to help the people? That's when everything's going to change for you.
yeah, that's real.
Everything's going to change for you. Once you start thinking about something other than yourself, that's
Mm,
when things start changing for you. So then we plan the messages. Of course, we have a strategy and all that. Then we put the messages together. Then we started recording the messages. All right. We record it. And then I have a simple way of editing. Like literally, I don't even call it editing. I just call it assembling. We're just going to assemble your podcast. And then from there, we go into promotions
mhm.
uh and posting things.
Ooh, I love that. Very simple steps, all sounds doable.
Mhm.
It also sounds exciting and fun as well. And I loved how you just, put things simply where
Yeah.
I can understand them. So I love it. I will definitely be promoting what you do. I think people need it.
Thank you.
And I guess with the last thing I would say, maybe if there's three things which people who's listening should already be writing these things down, which you said because you dropped so many jewels on everybody. But like there's three things that you can say to someone who's afraid to start their business, what would it be?
If you're afraid to start your business, the first thing we need to do is we need to do a mental cleanse because the
Mm,
reason why you're afraid to start your business, and you guys think it might be procrastination. Most people use that word procrastination. Well, I'm procrastinating. Well, procrastination is a symptom. It's a symptom of something else that's deeper, right?
mm,
And what's the procrastination is a symptom of having anxiety.
mm,
The anxiety that you have is due to your thinking that something negative is going to happen,
mhm,
right? So you think that, you know, people are going to say things. You think that people are not going to like your voice, or you think, or, if you're starting a podcast, or you're thinking that, nobody's going to buy this, or who am I to help people do this? All those are negative things. And when you say that, actually, when you say, who's going to listen to me?
mhm,
Nobody's going to buy this. Nobody's going to listen to me. When you're saying that, what you're really saying is God is imperfect. God didn't make me perfect, you know?
yeah.
And so the first thing we need to do is we need to change that movie in our head. Instead of we're asking the wrong questions. Instead of asking, what if it goes wrong? What if it doesn't do well? We need to ask ourselves, how great is it? How great is it going to be when it works? How
Ooh,
great is it going to be when I get through this and we get to the other side of it and it starts to do what it's supposed to do?
mm,
So we need the first thing we need to do, we need to change change the movie that we're playing in our head. Because when we change the movie that was playing in our head, what happens is we get this thing called anticipation that happens in our heart, right?
Mm,
When we have the anticipation of the things that are going to go well, then it puts movement in our hands, right?
mm.
Dr. Myron Golden likes to call that the law of action and not attraction, right? We've heard the law of attraction. He
Yeah.
called it the law of action
Ooh.
because you put that mental picture in your head of things are going to go well. So then in your heart, it's like, I need to get moving. So your hands start moving, and then you start to manifest the things that you're trying to do. Right. Since we put so much energy today, we use a lot of today's energy on negative things that's happening in the future. And we can't use that energy now to do the things that's going to make the positive things happen because we're not thinking about positive things. So number one, first and foremost, is cleanse that cleanse that mindset. Go get some personal development books. Uh,
Yes.
uh, really work on your mindset. Start with small things.
Yeah.
Yeah, start with small things, and then two, I would say number two is really just have a heart for helping people solve problems.
Mm.
Right, have a heart for helping people solve problems. We talked extensively about that today, so I'm not going to jump back into it, but have a heart for helping people. And then number three is act. Just act. Just move. There's a really good book called U Square. It's about having quantum leaps.
Mm.
And quantum leaps just meaning that um, your present effort that you're giving is probably bringing back a small result.
Mm.
But the whole book is about changing course, making it easier for yourself, working less, and having a bigger result. Right?
Mm.
Talk about the particles. When a particle does a quantum leap, it moves from one area to the next area. Unexplainable, just shifts to the next area, right? Um, and so and so just that you have quantum leaps when you move away from the current things that you're doing and do something different that's going to propel you to the next level or two or three levels above where you're at. For example, going to a job and thinking you're going to become rich off of a job, right? Now it can happen if you do the right investments and you work, you work whatever and all that stuff. But when you change course and say, "Hey, I here's the thing," and it's the beautiful thing about it is I've heard this being said, and I love this is you can go to work for someone and you can put in optimal effort. The more effort that you put in, you're going to get a more result, but your paycheck gonna be the same.
Yeah.
But if you do your own business, the more effort that you put into your business, right? The more you're gonna make more. You're gonna make more. Your paycheck gonna change if you do more, right? Right. And so you might do 8 hours of work at a job and make like me 8 hours of work 5 days a week, and I make $900. But go out here and talk for 8 hours and create an income of $13,000.
Yeah.
Just for
Yeah.
me talking,
Yeah.
right? For me talking. So I believe number three is just act, make a move.
Ooh.
Don't think about it. As a matter of fact, don't think negative or positive. Just move. Don't
Just
even
think.
think. Just
Yeah,
move.
don't even think. Just move.
Yeah.
Touche. There it is. I really appreciate you and your time today and you saying yes, uh, having this conversation with me. And it's been so awesome being able to catch up with you, first of all,
Please.
10 years later. I also, again, I adore and admire what you've been doing. I've been seeing on social and giving people tips. And again, I've listened to your podcast as well. And so I thank you for being a service to people, being a service to society, and being willing to share what you know with other people. Could you also share where we can all follow you and see what's going on, and also being able to contact you for your services?
Oh yeah. So if you go to Instagram, you can find me on Instagram at Derrick Harper MBA. M as in Mary, B as in boy, A as in Apple. Derrick Harper MBA on Instagram. You can go to the podcast. It's called Building a Purpose Driven Podcast, and you can find it on Apple, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, Castbox, iHeartRadio, all those places.
Yes.
So building a purpose-driven podcast.
Okay. You got it. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for being here. Again, we thank Derrick for being here. And yeah, let's keep going. I'm going to continue to follow you. And again, I appreciate you being here. Okay.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's my honor. All right. Until next time.